Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something absolutely fundamental for anyone writing automated tests, the page object model. Look, if you've ever felt like your test code is just this ticking time bomb, a total maintenance headache waiting to happen, well, you are in exactly the right place. Seriously, if you've ever written, more than just a few automated tests, you know this feeling. It starts out great, right? Everything's small, it's clean, but then the app grows and suddenly your code is tangled. It's fragile. It is an absolute nightmare to update. And this isn't just you. This happens to everyone. So let's dig into why this happens. Okay, so it all starts with what I like to call the automation code mess. You know how it is. You're moving fast, you're trying to get those initial tests built out, and it's so easy to just cram everything you need into one single file. You're not really thinking about the long term, you're just trying to get it done. And yeah, without some kind of design pattern, what you get is chaos. Pure chaos. The what, your UI locators, your XPaths, your IDs for buttons and fields, that gets all mixed up with the how, the actual clicks and the typing. And then that gets mixed up with the why, the test logic, the assertions. It's all just one big messy soup, all in one file. So this jumbled mess of code, this whole approach, it leads to two huge problems. And honestly, they can completely derail a project. First up, problem number one. And look, we've all been guilty of this at some point, just massive code duplication. Just think about it for a sec. You've got a login page. Your first test needs to log in, right? So you define the username field, the password field, the login button. Cool. Now, your second test, maybe it's for the search feature, it also needs to log in. So what do? Come on, you know what you do. You copy and paste. And before you know it, those same definitions for the login page are in 10, 20, maybe 100 different test files. It's everywhere. And all that duplication, it leads directly to problem number two. And this one is arguably way more painful. It's the maintenance nightmare. Okay, so this is where it really hurts. What happens when a developer, changes the ID of that login button? Well, since you copied that locator into 100 different places, you now have to go on this massive manual treasure hunt from hell. You got to find and update that one line of code in every single file. It's so tedious, it's so easy to make a mistake, and it just makes your entire test suite super, super brittle. So clearly, there has to be a better way, right? We need a system, some kind of pattern that brings structure and sanity back to all this mess. And that is exactly what the page object model is for. Now, this is super important to get. The page object model, or POM for short, it's not some framework or tool you just install. Nope, it's a design pattern. It's a way of thinking, a proven recipe for organizing your code. And its whole point, its entire reason for being, is to draw a clean line between the UI and your actual tests. The main idea is actually really simple. You basically create an object that acts as a representative for a page, or maybe just a component on your UI. And that object, it becomes the one and only source of truth. It knows where everything on that page is, and it knows how to interact with it. Your tests then just talk to that object. They don't need to know any of the messy details behind the scenes. Okay, so this whole separation of concerns thing sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like? In the code. So check this out. Before POM, your test case class was just a monolith. It did everything. But after you bring in the pattern, you split up the work. You create a new thing, a page object class. That's where you put all the UI locators and the action methods, things like enter username or click logging button. And your test case, it gets super clean and simple. All it has is the high-level steps of the test and the final checks. And getting started with this is actually pretty straightforward. Step one, just look at your app and identify the different pages or big components. Step two, for each of those, you make a dedicated class, a login page class, a homepage class, a search results page class. You get the idea. And then step three, you just write your tests to call the methods from those classes. It creates this beautifully clean, readable flow. Here's another way to think about it. The page object class, it has one job. It's the expert on one specific part of the UI. It knows where every button is, every field, and how to use them. The test case class has a totally different job. It's the director. It tells the page objects what to do and in what order, and then it checks to see if the outcome was what it expected. This division of labor, that's the real magic here. Okay, so we've reorganized our code. So what? Why does this actually matter?
Well, let's circle back to those two massive problems we talked about at the beginning, and you'll see how this new structure just completely solves them.
And boom, here it is. Remember that code duplication problem? Gone. The login page is now defined in exactly one place, the login page object. Every single test that needs to log in just uses that same object. And the maintenance nightmare? Poof, also gone. When that login button's ID changes, you have one file to update, just one. You change it there, and it is instantly fixed for all 100 tests that use it. How great is that?
Look, when you really commit to this, the long-term payoff is just huge. First, reusability. Your code becomes incredibly reusable. Second, maintainability. It gets so much easier to maintain, saving you, countless hours. And third, and this might be the most important one, readability. Your tests actually become readable. Instead of a bunch of cryptic code, they read like plain English instructions. Now anyone on your team can look at a test and understand what it's trying to do.
And finally, let's be super clear about this. This isn't just some nice-to-have little trick for organizing your code. No, this is the absolute foundation, the bedrock of any test automation framework that's meant to scale and be professional. In fact, you'll hear people say things like this all the time, that without a pattern like this, you can't even really have a framework. It's that fundamental. It's the stable ground that you build everything else on top of. All your reporting, your data management, all your other logic. So I'm going to leave you with a question to think about for your own projects. Really think about this. If tomorrow a developer on your team changed the locator for your app's main logo, how many files would you have to edit? If that answer is anything more than one, well, it might be time to seriously look at the page object model.